Have you ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted the most? It could be a friend, a family member, or even a partner. You gave them your trust, you opened your heart, and then they stabbed you in the back. Here's the thing, betrayal doesn't only destroy you, it also destroys the betrayer. They may think they've won in the moment, but in reality, they are slowly losing everything. Today, I want to break this down, not just from a moral point of view, but also from a psychological and cultural perspective. I'll also share some examples from everyday life, so you can clearly see how this plays out in real situations. And yes, I'll add my personal thoughts because I've been through some of this myself. Let's dive in. The nature of betrayal. Betrayal is not just about breaking trust. It's about breaking the foundation that relationships are built on. Think about it. What holds friendships, marriages, and even societies together? It's trust. If you can't trust someone, you can't feel safe around them. You can't build a future with them. You can't plan, share, or grow. So when someone betrays you, they don't just hurt your feelings, they destroy the invisible structure that keeps the relationship alive. I remember one time when I trusted someone with a personal secret. It wasn't something small, it was something I had carried for years. And within a week, that person shared it with others. The damage wasn't only the embarrassment of being exposed. The real damage was that the trust was gone forever. Once it's gone, it's almost impossible to rebuild. Why they lose everything. Here's the core of the idea. When someone betrays you, they may think they are gaining something. Maybe money, maybe attention, maybe a new connection. But in the long run, betrayal comes back to eat them alive. Why? Because people who betray don't just betray once. They build a pattern. If they betray you today, they will betray someone else tomorrow. And soon, people start to notice. Let's take an example from work. Imagine a coworker who takes credit for your idea. At first, they might look smart, even successful. But with time, colleagues start to see the truth. Trust begins to fade. Their reputation suffers. And suddenly, doors that were once open are now shut. That's the irony. They wanted a quick gain, but they end up losing relationships, opportunities, and peace of mind. The psychological price. From a psychological point of view, betrayal has a hidden cost. The betrayer carries guilt, shame, and constant fear of being exposed. Even if they don't admit it, their subconscious knows the truth. I want you to imagine living like that, always looking over your shoulder, always wondering if the truth will come out, always fearing revenge or rejection. It's exhausting. It eats away at your mental health, and it pushes you into isolation. This is why many betrayers end up bitter and lonely. They may look successful on the outside, but inside they are restless, anxious, and deeply unsatisfied. Everyday life examples. Let's bring this closer to everyday situations. Friendship betrayal. You tell your best friend a secret, they share it with others. At first, they might laugh about it, maybe even enjoy the attention. But later, people stop trusting them with anything important. They lose friendships not because others got betrayed, but because people know they can't be trusted. Romantic betrayal. A partner cheats in a relationship. For a short while, they may feel excitement with someone new. But soon, guilt and chaos set in. The relationship falls apart. And even future relationships suffer because once you cheat, you carry that shadow with you. Workplace betrayal. A colleague lies or backstabs for a promotion. They may succeed temporarily, but over time, others refuse to work with them. Managers see through the game. The short win becomes a long defeat. Have you noticed this pattern? Every time betrayal happens, the betrayer loses more than the betrayed. Cultural and analytical comparison. Now, let's step back and look at this from a wider lens. Psychologists like Carl Jung spoke about something called the shadow. The shadow represents the dark side of human nature, our selfishness, greed, and dishonesty. When someone betrays you, they are acting from their shadow. But here's the interesting part. Ignoring the shadow doesn't make it disappear. It grows stronger, and eventually, it takes control. So what happens to the betrayer? They become slaves to their shadow. They lose their authentic self, and without authenticity, life feels empty. Different cultures also reflect this. In ancient Greek tragedies, betrayal often led to downfall. Think of stories like Agamemnon or Oedipus. The betrayer always paid the price. Even in everyday sayings we hear it. Cheaters never prosper. Liars get caught. These aren't just moral lessons. They're observations of how life really works. Personal reflection. Now let me be personal with you. I've been betrayed a few times in my life. At first, it crushed me. I felt stupid for trusting. I felt weak for caring. But over time, I realized something powerful. The betrayal wasn't my loss, it was theirs. Because while they lost my trust forever, I gained wisdom. I learned to choose people more carefully. I learned to value honesty above charm. And most importantly, I learned that betrayal reveals more about the betrayer than about the betrayed. That's why today, when I see someone betray me, I don't feel broken anymore. I see it as a sign of their character, not my failure. Transition to deeper analysis. So, here's the point. Betrayal looks like a victory at first, but slowly it takes everything away from the betrayer. Their relationships, their reputation, their inner peace. In the next part, I want to dig even deeper. I'll break down the hidden psychology behind why betrayers repeat their mistakes, and I'll show you how you can protect yourself from their cycle of destruction. Stay with me. This is where things get very real. Why betrayers repeat the same mistakes? Have you ever noticed that people who betray once,
the cycle of self-destruction. So what actually happens to them in the long run? Loss of reputation. Once people realize someone is untrustworthy, the label sticks. Reputation is like glass. Once it's cracked, it never looks the same again. You can apologize, you can explain, but people never fully forget. Isolation. People pull away from betrayers. Friends stop calling, family keeps a distance, coworkers avoid them. Slowly, the betrayer finds themselves surrounded by shallow connections, not deep ones. Inner chaos. This is the hardest part to see from the outside. Betrayers live with guilt and fear. They replay their actions in their minds. They struggle with self-respect because deep down, they know who they really are. Failure in the future. Even if they win in the short term, betrayal catches up. A job can be lost, a marriage can collapse, a business can fall apart. When trust is gone, everything eventually falls with it. Everyday example. The workplace. Let's use a more detailed workplace example. Imagine an employee who constantly manipulate situations to make themselves look good. They throw others under the bus. They gossip to climb higher. They steal credit for projects. For a year or two, they might look successful. They might even get promoted. But over time, the team starts avoiding them. Managers begin to notice patterns. Their name becomes associated with drama. And then it happens. One mistake, one exposure, and their whole career collapses. Because when you don't have trust, you don't have support. And when you don't have support, you can't survive setbacks. Why betrayal feels so personal? Now, let's talk about you. Why does betrayal hurt so deeply? It's because betrayal is not just about the act. It's about identity. When you trust someone, you are giving them a piece of your identity. You are saying, I see you as part of my world. When they betray you, they are not just rejecting your trust, they are rejecting a part of you. That's why it feels like your whole world shakes. It feels like a piece of you has been broken. But here's where the shift happens. The pain you feel is temporary. The damage they suffer is long-term. Protection strategies. How to guard yourself. You can't stop people from betraying you, but you can protect yourself from being destroyed by it. Here are some strategies. Don't ignore red flags. People show signs before they betray. Do they gossip about others? Do they break small promises? Do they manipulate situations? If yes, don't give them the chance to do bigger damage. Limit your vulnerability. You don't have to share every detail of your life with everyone. Keep your deepest secrets for people who have proven their loyalty over time. Test trust in small ways before giving it in big ways. Strengthen your own identity. Betrayal hurts less when your identity is not fully tied to someone else. Build self-confidence. Build personal goals. Build your own circle of strength. Accept that betrayal happens. Betrayal is part of human nature. It doesn't mean you are weak. It doesn't mean you are foolish. It means you are human. And learning to face it makes you stronger. Psychological insight. Projection. Here's an interesting angle from psychology. Many betrayers project their own insecurities onto others. For example, someone who betrays you financially might secretly fear they are not capable of success. Someone who betrays you in love might secretly feel unworthy of loyalty. Someone who betrays you at work might secretly feel they aren't good enough on their own. So they act out of fear, not strength. Their betrayal says more about their weakness than about your value. When you understand this, betrayal starts to feel less like a personal wound and more like a reflection of their brokenness. Cultural comparison. Betrayal across traditions. Across different traditions and cultures, betrayal is one of the most condemned actions. In ancient myths, betrayers often face curses or tragedy. In religious teachings, betrayal is seen as one of the greatest sins. In modern society, we don't call it sin, but we punish it with social rejection and legal consequences. This shows something important. Betrayal is universally destructive. It destroys trust, and trust is the foundation of human connection everywhere. My personal take. Let me share a personal thought with you. When I look back at people who betrayed me, I don't feel anger anymore. I actually feel a strange sense of pity. Why? Because I can see what their betrayal cost them. One lost a circle of close friends. Another lost a career path that was once very promising. Another ended up in constant cycles of broken relationships. When you step back, you realize they didn't betray you. They betrayed themselves. They exchanged long-term peace for short-term gain. And that's the worst deal anyone can make. Transition to final part. So far, we've explored why betrayal repeats, how it destroys the betrayer, and how you can protect yourself. But there's still one last piece I want to share. In the final part, I'll explain how betrayal can actually become your teacher. Yes, it hurts, but it can also give you strength, clarity, and direction. If you've ever wondered what good could ever come from betrayal, stay with me. The final part will answer that question. Turning betrayal into your teacher. Now, let's flip the story. Yes, betrayal hurts. Yes, it feels like someone ripped your heart open. But here's the hidden truth. Betrayal can be one of your greatest teachers. When someone betrays you, they force you to see the world more clearly. They show you who is real and who is fake. They reveal the limits of human nature, and they push you to grow stronger.
But with betrayal, loyalty becomes a treasure. Lesson 4. You stop living in illusions. Betrayal breaks illusions. Maybe you thought that person was your soulmate. Maybe you thought your friend would never hurt you. Maybe you thought your colleague was honest. When betrayal happens, the illusion collapses. It hurts, but it's also liberating, because illusions keep you blind while truth sets you free. Better to know the truth than to live in a lie, and betrayal forces that truth out into the open. Cultural reflection. The role of betrayal in growth. If we look at stories across cultures, betrayal often plays a role in transformation. In literature, betrayal pushes heroes to grow stronger and wiser. In history, betrayal often sparks revolutions or new movements. In psychology, betrayal is seen as a trigger for self-examination and change. This shows us something important. Betrayal is painful, but it is also deeply meaningful. It's not just destruction, it's a turning point. My personal reflection. I want to share something personal here. When I was betrayed in the past, I thought it was the end of my world. I felt weak, angry, and even hopeless. But looking back now, I can see how much I grew because of it. I became more careful with trust. I became stronger in myself, and I discovered who my real friends were. If those betrayals never happened, I might still be surrounded by fake people, living in illusions and depending on others for my happiness. In a strange way, I'm grateful for the pain because it shaped me. The final reality. They lose. You win. Let's return to the core message. When someone betrays you, they might think they've won. They might feel clever or victorious. But the truth is, they are losing. They lose your trust. They lose your respect. They lose their peace of mind. And slowly, they lose their relationships, their reputation, and even their own sense of self. You, on the other hand, gain. You gain wisdom, you gain clarity, you gain strength, and most importantly, you gain freedom from illusions. So the betrayal is not your downfall, it's your turning point. a final question for you. Now, I want to ask you something personal. Think back to a time when you were betrayed. What did you learn from it? How did it change you? Take a moment to reflect. You might realize that betrayal didn't just hurt you, it shaped you. If this message spoke to you, I'd love to hear your story. Share your experience with betrayal in the comments below. Tell me what you learned and how it made you stronger. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss future content where we explore topics that go deep into psychology, life, and personal growth. Because at the end of the day, the pain you have faced is not the end, it's the beginning of something stronger.